Greetings and welcome. We are live. Players are setting up. I will send you room credentials so you can get in.
So I'm happy to join you here today, D. It should be an interesting game.
Indeed. Alright, so the players are Relic and SonyaTheFox. I recognize Relic. I actually fought against this guy this last year at Gen Con. SonyaTheFox, not somebody that I think I've played against. Interesting team. Sonya is running an all Season 4 team. Plague, Specter, and Tinker. Relic is running Enchantress, Treasure Knight, and Umina. So 2 new characters, 1 standby. Excuse me. Players are making their first selections. Enchantress versus Plague Knight. Alright. Let me get that up.
And I'm joining the stream in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you favor in this matchup?
I would favor Plague Knight. He has very strong options at range, and he's extremely mobile, which means that he's not subject to the usual vulnerabilities that Enchantress likes to prey upon.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. Enchantress's resource game could pose him some issues if he doesn't carefully manage his hand, I think.
I can agree with that. If she manages to deny him resources and burn out his hand at the wrong times, he'll have a very tough time coming back because he needs to convert cards into damage very efficiently. He is... he's prone to burnout.
Makes sense.
Would be my evaluation. Alright, TCO servers are exciting today, so hopefully the game will stay up for the duration.
Yeah, very spicy. If you're playing anything on TTS, remember to make a save every 5 minutes or so, just so you don't have to reconstruct game state from memory.
Yeah, there is an autosave feature, but you want to be sure that you're not running into too much trouble.
Yeah.
Alright, looks like Plague is going first. Gosh, love those card backs.
They're very fancy, especially here on TTS where you get to see all the cards clearly.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so from opening positions, Plague always has an interesting variety of threats, because it depends on what his hand shape is. But if we ignore his character ability, he has just long pitch and dive, so he has a move don't move mix up, where long pitch is his projectile. It's a speed 5/4 special. Enchantress, however, has a number of options that are viable at range 4. Let's see, Magic Shots loses on defense because it's the same speed. It's also a 4 special and a speed 5 projectile. Fire Wave is speed 4, range 3 to 6, and it has guard, so it would trade. Homing Orb she would not have access to unless she happened to draw EX Homing Orb, because Homing Orb's range is dependent on the number of cards in her hands.
And as the player going second, EX Homing Orb can definitely surprise somebody.
Yep.
In Plague Knight's position.
Yep, EX Homing Orb stuffs practically everybody, if she's lucky enough to have it. So Plague is striking, and it appears he is not using his character ability.
I would guess this is long pitch.
It's probably long pitch. It's a very reliable move. It really only loses to Fire Wave, and it doesn't lose that badly. It trades.
Right.
So
I think it might beat Fire Wave flat out at the opening position because Fire Wave only has 4 guard, right?
Oh, that's true. Alright, Enchantress Wild Swings. That's an invalid ultra. Oh, we have a cheeky offensive sweep.
Now that's interesting. And he's gonna, Plague's gonna get punished for that one.
Yep. He was evidently trying to call out a flying charge on defense to trade with. I wouldn't actually trade with that. Huh. I wonder what the play was. He might just be trying to winnow his hand size down. Alright, so Enchantress Wild Swings a Magic Shot, validates it. That is a 4 special, so she could have chosen to invalidate it, but in this case it wins cleanly, so there's no reason not to. And she gets 2 gauge off the bat, which is pretty useful.
Gets her engine started off pretty quickly there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Enchantress wants to exceed ASAP. With Plague Knight, he's got a 2 gauge exceed, which is usually a tip that your exceed is either very important or very unimportant. It is a playstyle choice, like with Ryu, or it's something you want to do ASAP, like with Guile. In Plague Knight's case, I would definitely say that it is a playstyle choice. I personally exceed ASAP, but I see plenty of people stock that gauge as Force or for Ultras. Oh yeah, I needed to take that damage. There we go. Alright, Enchantress boosts and does not draw for an turn because that is her character ability. Plague Knight preps.
Yeah, it kind of means Enchantress has to be careful how she plays out her hand because she has a a set order for how her cards want to go down, and you can mess it up, or your opponent can mess it up if you're not thoughtful ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are both characters who actually need to be very careful about how they play out every hand they get, which is pretty interesting. So it looks like she's playing a reading. Plague Knight has a nice juicy hand of 6 cards, which is unusually large for Plague Knight. The reading will land on a dive.
So I feel like this is Fire Wave.
It's Fire Wave or Magic Shot, almost certainly. It could be her own dive, but Enchantress probably doesn't want to be in his face. Both of these characters are more comfortable at range.
What would Plague Knight do at range 6, for example?
He would combine a dive or assault with something else. So the reading dive was doubly valuable here.
Oh, okay.
And that is because getting the dive out of his hand means he can't tack it onto something else using his character ability. So he now has less movement overall. He is very reliant on his dives and assaults for movement effects. His own kit does not provide him much. Yeah. So at this point, there's not much he can do. It's likely to take a move action or prepare to hoard some resources. There you go. Running in also works.
And Enchantress is probably going to find some way to either spin that card or strike with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she needs to get rid of it so that she can get her reload. Looks like a move action, backing up 1 space, and then because her hand is empty, she will draw 6 cards at the end of her turn.
Yep. Very difficult to corner Enchantress or starve her of options, because you usually only have 1 or 2 turns to take advantage of that.
Yep. There are very specific times and places where her hand shape is a liability, and it's interesting. She also can't change cards in the conventional way, and she can't hold options, so it's possible to use it against her. It's just never going to last very long, and once she exceeds, that goes out the window.
Yep.
Alright, so Bait Bomb is being played by Plague Knight. He looks at the top 3 cards of his deck, adds 1 to his hand, 1 to his gauge.
The legendary 3-bidden knowledge. It's not 4-bidden because it's only 3 cards.
Yep. So the idea there is that you're looking at information you wouldn't normally be allowed to have. That said, with Plague Knight, he doesn't really make much use of it, because the card that goes back on top, he will draw for the end of his turn. There are, let's see, Imogene actually is a notable example of a character who can gain access to knowing what the top of her deck is, and then retain that information for later turns, giving her information about her wild swings. This breaks one of the usual rules of Exceed, which is that you don't know what's coming next. Alright, so we have a light from Enchantress.
Light Fire Wave's pretty dangerous. It messes with a lot of things Plague Knight would normally want to do.
Yeah, he is generally a speed-sensitive character. He only has 1 attack with any printed defenses, if I recall. Oh, that's not true. His ultras both have defenses. He only has 1 special with printed defenses. And it doesn't hit at this range. So with 5 cards in hand, he's actually in a pretty awkward position. He needs a smaller hand to make his ability more consistent. He has boosts that let him shape his hand in different ways to try to mitigate that. Oh, we have a reading. That'll get 1 card of his hand. He'll name something and set his attack, chooses whether to use his character ability.
Pretty effective way to diffuse a light situation.
Yep, looks like he whiffed, probably calling Grasp here. At range 4, it's a safe call. We have 0234 and Flying Charge. Oh, sorry, Homing Orb. Homing Orb, excuse me.
Yeah, Homing Orb's pretty hilarious here. It's speed 8 and hits, so...
Yeah, beats everything. So that's probably the response. She might also play the dive, because at speed 6, dive is likely to beat everything.
Yeah, if you read Grasp, it's a little difficult to know what exactly he's playing. He might be trying to pull off a trap.
So let's see, was this the baits? It was.
Yep.
Interesting. Alright,
Gets
so
punished for that.
Enchantress jumps in. She will, however, trade, so it's not the worst for her.
Sure.
But she'll deal 5 and take 6 damage, trading down. That's good for Plague Knight, but he can't really afford to trade like this long term. He is down a substantial amount of life. He uses after to retreat 1, putting him at range 2, which is where he's threatening Perfect Pitch, a speed 7 attack that hits exactly at range 2. Very useful threat.
Importantly, Perfect Pitch has a pretty nice hit effect on it as well.
Yes. Although it's interesting because into Enchantress, so the hit effect in Perfect Pitch is hit, draw a card, then the opponent must discard a card at random. But Enchantress, especially because she's probably going to exceed in the near future, has a unique ability to reload with ease, meaning it is lower value than usual.
Makes sense.
Plague Knight has not yet used his character ability, but now he's at 3 cards withdrawn. He has drawn up to 5, making it again harder to combine the cards that he wants.
So when you use Plague Knight, I've heard there's two lines of play. There's a low hand Plague Knight, and there's kind of a larger hand one. Which do you prefer?
So I prefer low hand Plague Knight. When I start building up resources, it's because I'm setting up to use one of his Ultra Boosts, which are very, very expensive. The high hand Plague Knight that is consistently at high hand is a more control-oriented playstyle, where they're trying to play him essentially as a zoner instead of as as a controlling zoner as opposed to as a rushdown zoner. Rushdown zoner may sound paradoxical, but because of how Plague Knight's ability works, he can be very aggressive, throw a lot of cards out, and also just throw damage at the opponent's face constantly. And yet he does it all while still exerting range dominance, so he still feels like a zoner even though he's coming at you with everything he has constantly. That's my preferred playstyle with him. However, if you play more conservatively, you can take advantage of a lot of his like so-called value boosts, which have a lot of draw effects or hand advantage, card advantage effects, and then just try to outposition your opponent. I think that line of play, specifically into Enchantress, will be very difficult to pull off.
Looks like Enchantress targeted Perfect Pitch with the block. So given what you said about Perfect Pitch being a little low value into her, that might be an interesting thing to target, actually.
It telegraphs that she's just afraid of getting outsped. It's also possible that she's afraid of one of the more infamous play combos, which is to play Perfect Pitch discarding a dive at range 2. If he's able to do that, especially if you can set it up with a Castle Crasher boost, Serum Fairness, or Berserker's Brew first, it can become simply unbeatable.
That is indeed a reason to be scared of it. All right. Enchantress being very thoughtful here, giving Plague Knight the option of advancing or retreating.
Yeah, so Groundbreak is a boost that gives the opponent the choice to move up to 2 spaces, but if they don't move 2 spaces, then they take 5 damage. Alright, so Plague Knight initiates at range 1, that is Staff of Striking. Oh, brutal. So he will outspeed dealing... Sorry, Staff of Surging. I can't read. He will deal 1 damage after armor, and then draw 2 cards, because she will be stunned. Very good for Plague Knight.
Yep. Enchantress's Armor and Guard's not going to help much against that. But she gets to play out the rest of her hand, which might be what she wants. She still has the life lead. This is actually pretty decent for her. Plague Knight's going to have trouble combining effects with a hand size that large. Nice there with the hard read on the sweep.
Yep. Alright, so he will dodge out to range. And however, Enchantress is still going to get value out of this because she gets to reload. So she gets what she wants. Plague Knight gets to not take a bunch of damage. Which works for everybody.
Given that the Enchantress has the life lead, I think it's probably correct for Plague Knight to avoid trades right now. It could have gone badly if she played, say, a Cross or a Grass, but she didn't, so that was a good call on his part, I think.
Range 3. This is a mediocre range for both characters, although I think... have we seen any Assaults in Plague Knight drop? I don't think so. With Assault up, range 3 is a pretty good range for him.
Yeah. Perfect Pitch is also live for him, and Enchantress doesn't have above curve options to beat here with 6 cards in hand.
Not Perfect, Long Pitch.
Long Pitch.
Perfect is the range 2 one, Long Pitch is the 3 to 5 one. He's also threatening Castle Crasher, although it'd be a pretty cheeky Castle Crasher, because Castle Crasher is basically Spike. It's speed 3, it has a lot of defenses, does a lot of damage, but it hits ranges 3 to 5, meaning that it's pretty awkward at actually landing if the opponent plays anything faster.
Yeah. Enchantress does have some pretty decent defensive options at range 1 to 3. She has, importantly, Spiral Orb, which gives her 2 armor, and given how much armor is in her kit, she can be kind of hard to kill if she's playing this meta.
This is true. If he is running a Castle Crasher, the armor won't be helpful. You need to evade.
Yep,
So
exactly.
let's
Exactly.
see. Could this be the EX Assault or the EX Castle Crasher maybe? Oh, EX
Oh,
Spike. Called
he's going to be
out.
punished for that.
Yep, Enchantress ducks into melee, pops him for 3.
All things said, I think it's probably the correct play for Enchantress. If it was EX Castle Crasher, that would have also beat it.
Yep, that would have definitely been her worst case. So she was probably covering the Castle Crasher, and as a happy side effect, cover Spike at the same time. Now at close range, this is where I think we'll see the Spiral Orb come out, or maybe a Shattering Scream. It is Spiral
Yeah, we
Orb.
do see Spiral, but she's not going to get a ton of value other than draw.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. She has 9 cards in deck, so she may actually choose to dump her hand here just to get the reload.
That is also possible.
It's an interesting decision. She can kind of manipulate her hand size here.
Yeah, that's a good point, because if she draws 3 cards here, then her next reload would show her hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you bottom out your deck in Exceed, it does not require you to reveal your hand, but it's very common, especially among the competitive community, for players to reveal their hand as a courtesy, because it really just is to save the opponent the trouble of counting cards. Since if you count your opponent's discards, engage in any other known information, if they have no cards in deck, you can determine exactly what's in their hands. Since this is very dangerous for your opponent to know exactly what you have available, most players will try to avoid getting in that situation. Let's see. I really think she's going to Exceed before her reshuffle here.
She certainly has the gauge for it, I think. Not a whole lot it's doing for her at the moment, but she'll want to threaten Ultras eventually, probably. Oh, and there is an insanely good boost.
Here we go. Serum Supernus, +4 force cost, +2 power, +2 speed, +2 armor, now strike. Striking with 1 card from hand. Looks like there was no discard on that. So this is just a raw bundle of stats.
Yep.
Staff of Surging is pretty unbeatable here if he has the other one.
Still usually worth it, even if it's just stats.
Yep. Chain reaction. Okay. This is fine. He will trade, but trading into focus is pretty good. He'll hit for 4 after armor, and then he'll take 2, and he'll reload to 4 cards.
Yeah, not usual that you get a positive trade against focus, so you take those if you have to.
Indeed. Alright, it's a decent amount of value in his discard pile now. Starting to wonder when Plague is going to reshuffle, since he goes through his deck pretty quickly. Enchantress draws a single card, meaning her division is in an interesting place. She has 5 cards left in deck, so she does not want to perform another full reload anytime soon. She will probably reshuffle before that happens.
Vulnerable to reading, assuming we haven't seen both of those with Plague yet.
I do not believe we have. I think we only saw one. I could be mistaken, however. She backs up to range 2.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what exactly that's foreshadowing.
I think Shattering Scream is the only thing that's being telegraphed after that. Could also be a Cross if she has one left. But Cross loses to Perfect Pitch, and I believe he is still threatening Perfect Pitch.
Well, let's see what it is.
It is the Cross. Alright, no punish here. He just plays a Focus, which would have absorbed some damage from a Shattering Scream and still let him draw. Unusually high hand Plague here. Now at range 5. So she doesn't have the hand size to support a Shattering Scream. She is threatening Rapid Beam, but that loses... wait, does that lose to...
Well, it loses to Dive and Assault, and anything that moves it, really.
Yeah, if he initiates, it loses to Dive. It will lose to Assault in all circumstances, and it loses really badly to Long Pitch.
Yes, yeah. Long Pitch would be pretty interesting to play here. This is a awkward position for Enchantress, I think. But if she survives whatever Plague throws here, she can retaliate for some decent amount of damage.
He is at least not threatening. Alright, so we have a Grasp discard. Okay.
That's very
that could be useful,
that makes a Long Pitch even reasonable if the opponent plays a Fire Wave.
Yep, agreed. So normally Fire Wave would be a pretty safe defense here since he's not threatening the Castle Crasher. Oh, actually, sorry. Fire Wave beats Castle Crasher. What am I saying? But Fire Wave would trade up against Long Pitch, but with that hit effect, he can actually force it to whiff.
And Enchantress not taking any risk here. Still not going to help her out.
Yep, Wild Swing's a homing orb, which misses.
Really unfortunate. Just
Yep.
one off.
Yep, those off by 1 errors. So he needs to spend a force to validate his attack, and then he may spend a force for power if he wishes. And the question is, will he? He also needs to move Enchantress. Hasn't spent for the extra.
Enchantress only should take 3 right now.
I'm guessing he declared his intents to spend and just hasn't picked the card yet. Yeah, there it is.
There we go. All right. And then he's going to move Enchantress 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
It is not optional, so she will be moved.
Yep.
But he wants to move her anyways. He doesn't have infinite long pitches to throw.
Yep, looks like the opponent is pointing out the available spaces. Moves her in. Yep,
Okay.
makes sense.
Now we are threatening Castle Crasher and Triple Dose.
Mm-hmm. Triple Dose is not a huge threat here. He's running a little low on damage triggers to add on to it, which are what he really needs to help close this game.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Castle Crasher would be kind of interesting, though.
Yeah, it trades with Shattering Scream. Oh, speaking of.
Yep.
There's a
Just
Shattering
be
Scream.
a little safe here. Being safe is perfectly acceptable.
Yep.
Especially when you're trying to eke out that last bit of life.
Yep. Shattering Scream is actually really good from the center when you have enough cards to support the range, because it's just basically dropping a nuke that hits the entire stage, which is great. He did have the Triple Dose in hand. It looks like he's going to spend that to take 0 damage.
Yeah.
And that makes it his turn. Prepares. Alright, 3 cards in hand is a sweet spot for Plague. He now has very good chances at engineering whatever attack he wants from those cards.
This is probably a really good time for Enchantress to exceed. She's almost at the bottom of her deck.
I would agree.
And
it looks like she's deciding what she wants back in deck during that exceed free shuffle.
yeah. Magic Orb always nice to have, just to quickly build your gauge back up for another Ultra.
Mm-hmm.
Other cards are just going to be useful to hit this range.
Yep. Alright, there is the so-called free shuffle, which combines her hand, deck, and discard, form a new deck. And then she will draw 7 at the end of her turn, because that is now her character ability.
And now she will never dip into low cards unless she decides it's useful to her.
Yep. This is pretty terrifying. Looks like Play chooses to exceed as well. That's pretty great. It gives him the ability to use his character ability basically twice per strike. He does it once, and then he can choose to do it again, which means he's much more consistent in his card combinations.
Right, so with 4 cards in hand, you'd be setting 1 face down, and then you're getting 2 of the 3 for the others. So that's pretty less. That's a significantly less random chance to set up what you want.
Exactly. Yep. Like most, like a Wild Swing character, Plague is not as random as he looks. Alright, Enchantress looks to be considering a boost. Alright, initiates with Magic Shot, which will win the speed tie against Long Pitch. That is very unfortunate for Plague.
Well.
Yep, he needs to validate. Loses his other Staff of Surging. Oof.
It's a real shame to lose Long Pitch in particular, because it's a nice thing to throw down for a trigger.
Agreed. Both Long Pitch's hit effect is you may spend a force for +2 power, which is nice to add on to just literally anything for extra damage. It's also a decent attack, on curve at 3, above curve at 4.
So Plague is striking, and he's not adding his last card. So he either knows that they don't synergize well, or he wants to preserve it for a follow-up attack.
Mm-hmm. So this tells me if he has the Assault, this is the Assault. To try to get in her face. And then he'll probably want to follow up with Reshuffle.
That makes sense.
We saw both spikes drop earlier. He's down to only 4 cards left. The opponent is going to check that discard pile, see if they can figure out what his available options are, and then try to beat all of them at once.
Yeah. Homing Orb's not live unless it's EX.
Move 1 card response.
Alright, let's see what we get.
Shattering Scream, Giant Bomb.
That is just fine. Enchantress is going to spend gauge to trade, but trading is her way to win at the moment.
Yep. since she has a life lead, trading is very good for her. So she hits first, deals 6, dropping Plague to 3 life, and then he will hit her for 6 and move 1 space. So
Importantly, she is now threatening Homing Orb.
Yes. Depending on which way he moves. Actually, no,
that's...
she's not, because either way he moves, she's not threatening it.
Oh, excellent. Then, yeah, this could be interesting. So Plague should probably definitely move 1 forward.
I tend to agree. I'm pretty sure we still have a perfect pitch that's not accounted for.
Yeah, if he still has that, then yeah, that'd be great. I haven't been counting cards super closely.
Me neither. So he needs to move. I think there's also an unaccounted for Castle Crasher, so he might move back just to try to be greedy and swing that for. Oh, that's only 7 though, isn't it? It's not lethal.
Yeah. Scary thing about doing 1 less than lethal is that you're not guaranteed to win at that point.
Yep.
Always feels a little bitter to lose with 1 life left on the opponent.
I actually like it. I like the dramatic tension, things drawing closer to 0, and then at the last moments, a dramatic upset, which might leave you dramatically upset. All right, looks like he decides to move forward.
There are certainly worse ways to lose.
Looks like Enchantress is going to initiate. Now, she just reshuffled, so all of her options are live. I think her best case is to just throw a cross at the risk of walking into a Castle Crasher, which would be really funny.
Yeah, I would probably throw a sweep here, but sweep's not particularly safe. It just feels good.
I think it actually is. He's out of, if I recall correctly, he's out of dives and he's out of spikes. And I'm not sure about his crosses.
Sweep still loses to Castle Crasher, but it doesn't lose so hard that it's not worth. Oh wait,
no, Castle Crasher hits 3 to 5. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Spending 1 force to make Plague reveal his hand and discard it. Pretty simple.
Well.
Oh, he did have a cross. Okay,
That's
my mistake. She's also going to reload to 7, which is a huge deal, because this gives her a better chance to draw into, for example, EX attacks that'll let her close the game decisively.
Okay.
Plague prepares, drawing his last 2 cards.
Plague's hand is determinable at this point.
The opponent probably already knows it, because they spend a few minutes checking their discard pile. So they're playing something which almost certainly will not lose to it. Plague should have wild swung.
Yep, and that is going to be game.
Yep, the opponent played something that they knew would beat his remaining options, and lo and behold, it did. All right.
Yeah, if you don't wild swing, you can't beat the thing you know the opponent's going to play. It's usually how it works. All right. So we see game 1 is going to HurricaneRelic. Enchantress is now out of the running though, so that's if you're scared of Enchantress, which I think you have reason to be because she's a very good character. You now only have to worry about his remaining options. So what are the remaining options for both players?
Let's have a look. Alright, so HurricaneRelic has Treasure Knight and Umina. And SonyaTheFox has still Plague Knight, of course, and then Specter Knight and Tinker Knight.
So we're seeing a pretty heavy rotation for both players.
Yep, a lot of Season 4 is represented. In a diverse set, actually. We don't have any repeats here. So no mirror matches in the works. Personally, I think Relic is likely to play Treasure Knight. That's just because I've seen him play Treasure Knight more recently. So that's just my guess. It's completely arbitrary.
If I'm expecting the treasure, which I might not be, but I would definitely pull out Plague Knight again, just because I think Castle Crasher does a lot of good things against treasure.
It does. I'm not sure that I would, on the basis that Plague can struggle to break through the armor of someone with as much defense as a Treasure Knight. Castle Crasher is his one key card that does that, and it does it extremely well. But if Treasure plays around it at the right times, the rest of my deck is going to suffer. I'd be very comfortable with Spectre or Tinker, though. Spectre has Dread Talon, which is a pretty rude spike-like, and Tinker just has the raw stats to punch through virtually any defense.
I can see that. I think I'm not quite at the level where I'm confident with Tinker in a tournament match, because he feels inconsistent, but he might not be if you know how to play him well.
Yeah, I don't generally find him to be inconsistent, but, you know, Your mileage may vary. It's also very much a comparative thing. Like, I definitely think he's more consistent than, oh, I don't know, Taisei. But I think Taisei is pretty strong, so I'm okay with it. Looks like players have made their selections, I think. Oh, it is Tinker.
Okay, we do see Tinker. This will be a fun match to watch, especially against Umina. Wow.
Ooh. All right. Umina, this
Uh,
is very exciting.
I, Now I'm thinking of something, and you might be thinking of the same thing as well. When Tinker exceeds, what card is Umina going to be very scary with?
That would be, in my opinion, Mobile Gear.
Well, I was thinking of Umina being scary, but yeah, Tinker's mobile gear is actually pretty scary.
Oh, scary, like Umina's scary card?
Yeah,
Oh, Hollow Space.
yeah, because Hollow Space hits pretty much everywhere at that point, and it still dodges range one.
Yep. However, if Tinker is slower, he might be able to hit it back because of her after movement effect.
Oh yeah, that's fair. She's not going to be able to stay at range one most of the time.
Yep. Unless he happens to be up against the wall or one space away from the wall. So this should be
But since you
interesting.
mentioned mobile gear, I think mobile gear does actually beat Hollow Space. So
It does in Exceed mode, yes.
yeah,
Um, that's actually why I mentioned it. I'm like, yeah, Hollow Space is the scary card on her side, but Mobile Gear answers it, so that's the card that I would be afraid of. I just,
yep.
other side of the matchup. I also think Ringe Toss is very scary because, again, at range 1, it can actually beat Hollow Space. I mean, it is not used to people beating Hollow Space, so this might be a matchup where we see her relying on its stun immunity a lot more. It is pretty funny, though. Once Tinker exceeds, granted he gets a pretty crazy character ability, but he also hops in the tank, which looks impressive, but is definitely a drawback, because it expands the number of spaces that your opponent can hit. So he will
Yeah,
fall
and
vulnerable to a lot of things.
if I understand you correctly, because you've played a lot of Tinker Knight,
Mhm.
you view Tinker Knight as a character who wants to win on his front side by playing really good boost.
Yes. At least that's how I play Tinker. I think it's perfectly reasonable to just kind of hold off on your game plan until you exceed and try to exceed with 5 gauge so that you have a 20 life flip. But I think you are playing, kind of playing into the drawback of your exceed mode because make no mistake, his exceed mode, being in the Tinker tank, being 3 spaces wide, is a significant drawback. And I would rather play my boosts directly and like not have that drawback than have my boosts applied automatically but deal with the drawback. In general, I just think Tinker is a very strong boost character and I'm happy to play his boost on either side. But yeah, I would definitely rather save the tank. So I will even spend Gage's Force for his boosts on the front side because they're really good boosts. Against Umina, trying to decide. So, like most 7th Cross characters, she isn't great in boost wars because she doesn't have a lot of boost in her kit. Um, Unlike most 7th Cross
Dash.
characters, she has some interesting tools that can let her turn opponent boosts off.
Yeah, especially which transform would that be? That's the
Spiraling Descent.
yeah, the nice your cards don't matter if they're in my Dreamlands.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
she has
cute.
ways to steal cards from opponent's hand to put them in Dreamlands in case
That she
opponent
does,
is-
such as Dark Reflections. Looks like Tinker's going to turn 1 prep. Umina, yep, stocks a sweep in Dreamlands. This telegraphs that she's looking to play stun immune, brawling Umina this game. Trading hits
Yeah,
and melee.
yes, sweep's usually pretty safe to play, but if you're putting it in Dreamlands, then you're saying even if you have plus power, you're still not stunning me out.
Yep. So she is prepared to trade, probably pretty aggressively, and try to take advantage of her current life lead, which is not reflected on the board, but hopefully the players will remember before it matters.
Yeah, Tinker starting with 30 life would be pretty dangerous.
That would be broken. Much like with Taisei, the character would just be unbeatable at that point, I'm pretty sure. And he's already difficult enough.
I'm sure someone could manage it.
Oh, maybe so.
Probably pull out Juno.
Okay, well, fair enough. Yeah, playing either of the two competitively banned characters would be a pretty fair attempt.
And because the players are psychic, they catch the problem right as we mentioned it.
Oh, there we go. Alright. So, it is back to Tinker. He seems to be delaying, which...
Are they able to hear us?
Wait, what? Oh, are they eavesdropping?
Huh.
Okay. So we need to be a bit cautious about what we say then.
Yeah, we can't give advice in this case.
Mm-hmm. Alright, that's fine. So, Tinker plays defend. I was expecting a boost of some sort, I will admit. I don't know which boost, but with a hand of 7 cards, almost certainly he's going to boost. Mm-hmm. So, let's see. Umina looking at that boost. Defend is not especially threatening. It just kind of says, okay, Tinker's willing to trade. Mm-hmm. Alright. Dream telling. This is a really strong boost. So, right now this says +5 power.
Yep.
Because the card in her Dreamlands is sweet. So if she can confirm a hit, meaning that, by which I mean like if she can land a hit and be sure that she's going to land that hit, she's getting a lot of value off of this, and she might be able to close the game very abruptly. So
Yep. And it has a few other interesting actions, but
it does indeed. From this range, her only threats are, I believe, Dive, Dark Thoughts, and Hollow Space.
those are the cards that hit here. Yes, that is correct.
Yep. Of course, she could bait something like a Mobile Gear by playing something defensive. So nothing is for certain.
Especially not with Umina in the game. She's very difficult to pin down.
Indeed. Yep, I like her quite a lot. I'm not particularly good at her, but I love how complex she is. I actually think she's probably the hardest character in the game to master. Alright, Tinker is initiating. So his threats here are Dive and Mobile Gear. He doesn't actually have a projectile to start with.
But he could potentially take his move back and think of something else.
Oh, evidently. Mm-hmm. Maybe rethinking after realizing just how that Umina boost works. Alright, boosting Fierce. Stacking more power. Alright. Willing to make those trades.
Make this a real competition. Who's going to get to make their payoff work?
Mm-hmm. It will be interesting. Stun immunity is great for Umina, but Sweep does not have the best confirm. Although it will trade with everything that Tinker can throw until he has some sort of range boost in play. So, it's reasonable. Mm-hmm. The side benefit of that. Go ahead.
I would definitely advise both players to strike with Grasp at this situation. Nobody would expect that, and you can't let the opponent figure out what your plan is.
Let's see. Umina Preps, bringing that hand side of 7. Yeah, I would agree that striking with Grasp would be the least expected thing ever. Oh. Thank you for the sub, Boda. Nice to see you. Alright. So that brings it back to
Grasp is not available, I think they both possibly have access to Ultras. Fun thing about Ultras, they are automatically invalid, so that's also a good way to bluff.
Yes, you could play an Ultra from hands, just to be invalid. And you would only invalidate it on reveal, so it would look legitimate. I actually do make use of this as Jeanette and as Imogene, 2 7th cross characters who have interesting mechanics with how their invalid attacks work.
Alright, Tinker walking into Janet's parlor saying, "Hey, what you got going on over here?"
Yep, this fly is unafraid of this spider. Alright, so now things are a bit dicey.
Fairly hilarious things that can happen. And I'm not going to mention them because I don't want to tip the hand, but depending on how this plays out, this could be interesting.
Agreed. Yeah, there's a wide variety of options here. Everything from, stun immune attacks to fast things, to slow things. I think fundamentally it is a mix-up.
Yep.
It's a mix-up that, with an EX attack, favors Umina.
Yeah, this EX attack could be literally including sweep.
Oh my. Alright, so that is going to have, I believe, 11 power. Excuse me, 12.
Yeah, because
Uh,
you choose which order it happens in.
well, there's no choice. It's
Oh
a
no,
before
it's
and a
a
hit.
before.
So
Okay, yeah, that's how that works.
yeah,
Okay,
so she has
that's
before
gonna.
plus 5 power, then hit plus 5 power, for a total of 12 over 3 armor, dealing 9, which will stun focus.
That's insane. Stunning a defended focus
Yep,
is kind of crazy.
yep. So this is an incredible combo. Very, very high value for Umina, obviously. Negates the value of those boosts from Tinker, wipes them away along with most of his life total.
Yeah, 3 more damage, and Tinker does not get a second.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, for those not familiar with Tinker, he starts at 15 life, but when he would die, if he has any gauge, he will exceed, and his life resets.
Tinker needs to take 3 more damage, I believe.
That was 9 power, he had 15 life. Sorry, not 9, it was 12, but he had 3
Right.
armor, so he took 9, which is correct.
Oh, okay, that's what happened. All right, got
Yeah,
it.
12
Makes
minus 3
sense.
equals 9.
I'm not always good at that.
No worries. So, yeah, so if Tinker would die, he exceeds, and his life is reset to 4 times the number of cards in his gauge to a maximum of 20, which is why he wants to get 5 gauge and exceed. Well, 5 gauge before he dies is what I should say. However, if he has 0 gauge, well, his life is reset to 0, and he stays dead.
That transforms pretty nice. It's not game breaking powerful, but it's pretty useful in setting up situations you like to have.
Yeah, it's very good for action compression. The idea of doing more than one thing in a single action. So she can place a card in her Dreamlands and then also move.
On her front side, it's a little niche. If she wants to exceed, it's very powerful since you're potentially moving on every turn for free. Well, for the cost of a force.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but free in terms of it doesn't take an action, which is pretty
Correct.
crazy.
Yeah.
All right, looks like we have an EX attack from Tinker.
Tinker's saying he doesn't want to die yet, so he's gonna make something happen with this.
Yep, wants to land that hit. All right, well, Umina's Dreamlands is empty, so this is not a very safe time to be Umina.
Hollow space would be pretty good here, but
All
that's also fine.
Sweep. All right, so that's going to trade. Tinker hits first, has a 5 power, deals 5 damage, and then has an after effect which moves Umina around. So in the source material, Tinker is, in the source material is a platformer. So missiles represents one of those platforming components to the fights where you're bouncing on different projectiles. So it can actually force you out of position if you're the opponents, meaning he will move Umina 1 or 2 spaces in either direction. However, it will not be able to get the sweep out of range, so she will hit back.
Putting Tinker pretty much just 1 strike away from dying, but
He will get to see his succeed mode at least.
yes, yeah, he's guaranteed to have at least 4 life on him.
Mm-hmm. Alright, and now we'll see that sweep do a random discard. Oof, wrench toss. That's unfortunate.
Now, the thing about wrench toss right now is that it's not a great attack, but it's an amazing boost.
It is an amazing boost. And it is tragic that we have not seen... Oh man, if only he had played within my reach. We have a CC4, burning those ultras to draw some options that he can use to try to stay alive in the immediate future. It is unusual to see him drop ultras as force like this, considering how valuable their boosts are. Upgrade, the boost on mech charge, is just a huge amount of power, so it's not always reliable because you need to make sure you can hit first, but within my reach is a very unique boost. Let me try to get through this text. So, if you're not in Exceed mode, then you'll play a continuous boost from your hand or gauge at no cost and then discard it. So it basically lets him put one of his really powerful special boosts into play at no cost. If he is in Exceed mode, then it gives his attack stun immunity and ignore guard, which is obviously also really good. Alright, it is Umina's turn. Looking at how she can finish off Tinker.
She has options, but I don't think she has anything that cleanly beats him.
Agreed. He has answers for every threat.
Importantly, it's a little nice seeing both sweeps down since she's not going to be doing speed boosting anytime soon.
That's true. She doesn't have any natural boosts in her kit that give her stats other than the power boost that we've already seen 1 copy drop. And power is not especially important at this stage.
Right, you're either killing Tinker or you're not.
Yep. Alright, so he's initiating. 1 card, range 1. It is Flail into focus, so he will hit first. And unfortunately, he will not escape the counter attack.
And he won't get that gauge till the end of the strike either, which is bad for him.
That is correct. So he pops, then he exceeds, gaining 4 life. Well, I should say resetting his life to 4. All right.
We do see the Tinker Tank gets a chance to live though, so
Yep.
he will certainly get a chance to make everything he can out of it.
Indeed. 4 life is rough, but it's not unmanageable. I've seen stranger things.
Yeah, you're pretty much living or dying based on what you get to play at this point.
Mm-hmm.
If you guess the mix-up right and you blocks the right time, fine. If you guess wrong, then you're gonna get punished pretty hard, and you'll just die at 4 life. But the nice thing is that if the opponent doesn't make him force the wrong guesses, then Tinker's pretty punishing with his own attacks at this point.
Mm-hmm. Clarifying the timing of that. All right. The board is now reset, and the stage is set for the Tinker Tank. I actually, even though it is like a liability and a vulnerability, I do love the Tinker Tank card. It has a magnificent, daunting presence on the stage.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. I think with only 4 life left, your ultras aren't particularly exciting, but the boost on the ultras are still pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Within My Reach no longer has the effect of playing another card at no cost, but it still has Sun Immunity and Ignore Guard. Ignore Guard is pretty good. Alright, Dark Thoughts is going to land. Very reliable attack. Pulls a card out of Tinker's hand and into Dreamlands. Okay, this could be a big deal.
Could be pretty spicy.
It's just Assault. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, Umina will be fine.
Yeah, what's important is that now she has access to an Assault that she could play with Sun Immunity, which is, you know, that's just immunity things happening. Looks like Tinker has decided to spend Force to take no damage. Spinning that gauge.
I can understand that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Spiraling Descent is live, so...
Yeah, that means Tinker cannot play Assault, and he also cannot boost with Assault. Well, he can play Assault, but it's invalid.
That's not his most valuable card in this matchup, so he's...
Yeah, he definitely wants to try to throw specials and ultras at this stage, I would think. Oh, she's spinning a Force to move 1 per her transformation.
Yep. That's pretty nice.
Yeah. A little bit out of order. Should have done that before Tinker spent for armor.
Yeah.
But if the opponent's okay with it, then that's fine. All right, so that makes it Tinker's turn. Let's see. So as far as Tinker's concerned, he's at range 2. As far as Umina's concerned, he's at range 2 to 4. What are the threats here at range 2? I think probably the most obvious threat is Mobile Gear, or possibly Wrench Toss. Oh, actually, Drill Arm is a pretty big deal. What does that do? 7 damage? Yeah, basically, a lot of his stuff is scary.
Well, I'm not going to speculate too much about what it does, but I think she moved to range 2 because she has something that she wants to hit with that requires being closer.
That's very plausible. Alright, so Tinker's attacking with 1 card. Umina will now set a response.
Interestingly enough, she could also just bluff them.
There's the Stun Immune Assault in response.
Yep, that's pretty good.
Yep. Very, very hard for him to beat, and actually looks like that is getting.
He's just giving up already. Yep.
Yep. So Umina takes 3 and then closes and hits for 4.
Yeah, one of the liabilities of being Tinker Tank is you can't really run away
yes.
when you're that big.
Yep. The tank takes up 3 spaces, which means you can only get so far away. Alright, well that will decide the set, I believe.
Let's see. So, yeah, Hurricane won both rounds over.
Enchantress and then Umina. Alright, well thank you for joining me for this cast.
Yep. And thank you to both players.
Yep, good games. Thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed and are interested in Exceed and haven't tried it yet, this is Exceed Fighting System. It is a tabletop fighting game where you can duke it out with your friends or enemies. And if you'd like to try it, you can get it on... So Tabletop Simulator is not free, but this module is free. If you have Tabletop Simulator, look for XFS Balanced Breakfast. It is a module I maintain. And you can always ask about it on the Discord community of Level 9 Organized Play Online Play League, whatever we actually call it technically. where we are aggressively, efficiently friendly folks, and always looking to help new players get acquainted with the system. Did I forget anything? Oh yeah, thanks to Taxi for organizing this. The Matchup Madness, largest Exceed tournament to date. Alright, till next time. Bye.